Yuko is the Executive Director of the Tobacco, Alcohol and Gambling Group. He joins us now live from our studios in Johannesburg. Peter, your thoughts on these plans for plain packaging and just how effective they'll be?
Absolutely essential. The plans must go ahead and they will be effective. It has been proved around the world. First when graphic health warnings were introduced, and then in 2012 when Australia was the first country to go with plain packaging, then the UK and Austria. I think there's now 4 countries which have plain packaging, and South Africa will follow for one very good reason. It's an excellent, good public health measure.
Peter, talk to us about the introduction of these graphic images on packaging. How effective was that campaign?
Well, we haven't introduced them yet, and that will be done simultaneously. Graphic health warnings, large graphic health warnings, will be introduced on packets of tobacco products, and the branding will be removed, colors and logos and that sort of thing. And the evidence is very clear. It encourages more and more smokers to make the decision to quit smoking, and it encourages more non-smokers to choose never to start. That's the benefit of doing it. That translates to people living more healthy lives, reducing their medical expenses, protecting their families. That's the healthy choice. And it does work. We know that. And South Africa must introduce it. That's our policy.
Now, Peter, your organization, TAG, has joined up and formed partnerships with several other organizations. And for very good reason. The Cancer Association is one of those organizations.
Yes, certainly, because tobacco smoking and tobacco use in other forms, such as snuff, are cancer-causing agents and aggravate cancers as well. The same with alcohol. They're all Class 1 carcinogens, and it makes good sense to team up with organizations like Cancer and other NGOs working in the area so that we can strengthen our lobbying arm to government and get them to introduce these very excellent, good public health measures.
Peter, how closely linked is someone who smokes heavily versus someone who drinks heavily? I'm asking because a lot of people who do try to stop smoking, they list one of the triggers as perhaps having a glass of wine and saying that makes it a bit more difficult to actually give up the cigarettes as well.
Yes, certainly there are triggers and there are links to the addiction of nicotine. Let's first take the addiction to nicotine, and that really is very serious. I mean, people talk about the freedom of choice, but what happens is for whatever reason you choose to smoke, and sometimes children start, then they're very, very young and they get addicted very quickly, and that's not a real choice, it's peer pressure and so on. But then you're addicted to nicotine, and your choice is very quickly replaced by your obligation to feed your addiction, to keep searching for another high from nicotine. And so your choice is removed. And we know that that's bad long term, not only for the smoker, but for his family. Not only for his family's health, but his family's pocket. It's very, very expensive. We know that they are good measures to introduce stronger and stronger controls and limitations on tobacco.
Peter, you talk about freedom of choice. I mean, the reality is that a number of pregnant women still continue to smoke during their pregnancy. I mean, we talk about fetal alcohol syndrome being a problem. This is as much of a challenge.
Yes, it's massively bad. Fetal alcohol syndrome, South Africa is amongst the worst in the world, and certainly the worst in Africa. It's absolutely disastrous. And some women do continue to smoke and to drink while they're pregnant, with dire results. Of course, some babies do survive and are not born with fetal alcohol syndrome, but there's plenty of evidence to indicate that they do worse at school, that they have less intellectual prowess, that they have less sporting prowess. All these things are very negative. The key is never to smoke, and of course not to drink, because when a woman decides to fall pregnant, if by choice or by accident, it's about 6 weeks maybe before she actually knows that she's pregnant. During those 6 weeks of smoking and drinking, harm is done to the fetus, and we have to protect the unborn child. It's really very serious, and the one way to do it is don't smoke, don't drink. It's very, very simple.
Peter, a lot of people taking up e-cigarettes, or they're calling it vaping. I mean, is that a safer option?
Well, the answer is yes, it is a safer option, but it is not safe. We know that e-cigarettes contain nicotine. In many cases, they continue to keep the smoker addicted. So the smoker will suck on a device that they now call electronic cigarette. It no longer looks like a cigarette, and they're just feeding their addiction to nicotine. At the first possible opportunity, they'll pull out a combustible tobacco cigarette and smoke that so that they get their nicotine fix and they get their nicotine high. In some controlled circumstances, with counseling and advice, electronic cigarettes have been shown to assist some people with the ability and the capacity to stop smoking. The truth is that more people who smoke electronic cigarettes just keep their addiction alive. It keeps the addiction pathways in the brain alive, and so you'll continue smoking combustible cigarettes. And of course, continue doing yourself harm. And it's not a choice. You are addicted to nicotine.
So on this World No Tobacco Day, we're being asked to give up smoking for just 24 hours. Perhaps talk us through how your body starts to recover in that 24-hour period.
Well, the first suggestion is give it up for today, just for today. And then tomorrow on the 1st of June, don't smoke on the 1st of June. And of course, make the decision then, the choice for better health, not to smoke on the 2nd of June, and take that through for the rest of your life. But almost immediately, your blood pressure starts to stabilize, your pulse rate goes down, you get more oxygen into the blood system, and it feeds all parts of your body, including your brain. Every single part of your body is starved of oxygen while you smoke. So when you stop smoking, you're giving your body more oxygen, and every part of your body gets more healthy. It'll take a few days before the addiction starts to wear off. You still might have cravings, but if you just keep it up one craving at a time, not even one day at a time, one craving at a time, it'll only last about a minute or two. Then it goes away. And you know what? If it comes back, it still only lasts a minute or two. What happens when you smoke is you keep the addiction and the cravings alive. When you don't smoke, the cravings go away anyway, and eventually they die. And that's the way to quit. Starve your cravings to death. Become healthy. Make the right choice.
Well, there we go. Peter Yuko is the Executive Director of the Tobacco, Alcohol and Gambling Group. Thanks so much for your time this World No Tobacco Day.